What's up, guys? My name's Chris. I'm an entrepreneur in Sarasota. This year, I'm sitting down with business owners to learn all about their journeys, their triumphs, their struggles, and everything they've learned along the way. This is Stir. We're here today with Tom Lelio of Jet Life Aero in Sarasota. Tom, please tell us, who are you?
That's a loaded question. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a jet broker, former youth pastor, I'm a soccer player, I love playing soccer, I'm a pizza connoisseur.
Connoisseur.
Yes. I'm a father of 5 kids and 2 golden doodles. And I guess that's kind of me in a box.
Tell me about private jet brokering. How did you get attracted to this industry?
For sure. Well, it's like that cliche, like private aviation found me in some ways. So really what it came down to is I just saw an ad online.
Okay.
If I'm being completely honest. So my family and I moved to Sarasota about 10 years ago because I was a youth pastor and I never heard of Sarasota before. St. Thomas More Church over in Gulf Gate was looking for a youth pastor. I applied and I remember the video interview very vividly. They said, "Have you ever heard of Sarasota?" I said, "No." And their website was St. Thomas More SRQ, still is. I was like, "What's SRQ mean?" It's the airport code. So I guess maybe that was a foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Because I was always kind of, once I got the job, I was doing marketing and stuff there as well. And I was always kind of needling them, like, why do we have this SRQ in our website? This is like, no one ever uses airport codes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a foreshadowing. So I was a youth pastor for a number of years here in Sarasota. And then I started working at Music Compound, which is a music school locally on Cattleman. Mm-hmm. And I was the manager at that school. And as I was working there, my wife and I, we had 5 children and kind of just living paycheck to paycheck because she was working at home. I mean, just trying to keep the house in order with all the craziness that was going on there. So I just looked online. I always knew that sales was something that I was interested in. My very first sales job was selling Cutco knives with Vector Marketing.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
That's how I afforded my very first iPod, which was a color. It still had a wheel. I'm not that old, but it was a color iPod.
What color?
Well, it had a color screen.
Oh, it had a color screen?
Yeah, I don't think they came out with the colors on the bodies yet.
I got you. Yeah.
But I sold a bunch of knives door to door, and that was kind of how I got into sales. And I just never minded speaking with people. And even as a youth pastor, I had to convince kids to come to youth group on Friday instead of going to the Kilties football game,
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So I just saw an ad online for sales. I don't think it even said private jets. I think it said luxury sales or something like that. And once I pulled up into the airport, I found out, I'm like, oh, we're selling private jets.
Yeah. So tell me about, because we work with a lot of clients who they'll serve 10 and 12 and 100 clients or customers a day. How many people, like, the market for people buying a private jet, I'm trying to think about the people who are going to watch this video, and not a bad thing. I'm not trying to buy a private jet today or anything. I'm not in that position. I imagine most of them aren't, but some are.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
well, it's actually interesting. I had an interview about a year or so ago with Mariah Taliaferro. I don't know if you know her. She's with Sotheby's, Premier Sotheby's.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So she's here in Sarasota. Actually, she just closed one of the biggest real estate deals in Sarasota at one of the condos that she had listed. I think it was like an $11 million transaction. Yeah, something crazy.
Hey,
so shout out
to Mariah.
Yeah, we're just going to shout out all day.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I did an interview with her about aviation at Dolphin Airport, and we talked about how affordable it is, especially here in Sarasota. I mean, you can start learning how to fly if you want to. Take a discovery flight for $200 and go around Sarasota Bay during the sunset. It's beautiful.
Really?
Sarasota is so close to Naples, to Tampa, St. Pete, Miami. I mean, you could hop in one of these little 172s, for a couple $100 an hour and off you go. So that's what's great about Florida.
Okay.
Then from there, if you don't want to fly or learn how to fly yourself, you can charter something. Again, a charter could be anywhere from a couple $1,000s to go to the Keys. So $2,000 to $5,000 to go to the Keys instead of sitting in 5-6 hours of traffic.
Right.
That might be something you think about for a nice
sure.
anniversary or whatever. And then from there, you can rent jets, you can charter jets, and then you can finally own a jet if you wanted to.
You own your own jet.
But a lot of the business I do is actually outside of Sarasota.
Okay.
What I find is, on a daily basis, you're kind of talking about people who are serving a lot of people at once. If I'm doing my job right, I'm making anywhere from 50 to 100 phone calls a day, reaching out to owners.
Okay.
And just making those cold calls and seeing who wants to sell their jet and is willing to let me market their jet for them.
Yeah. And so when you have a buyer, tell me about that experience. Like I come to you 5-6 years from now, and I want to buy my private jet. What's that experience like as a client of Tom's?
Well, normally you're going to go to controller.com, which is like Zillow for real estate. Being a jet broker is a lot like being a realtor, except you don't need a license. There's no certifications, no specific degree that you need. You just need to be a hustler, and whether that's joining an agency and learning from them or trying to figure it out all on your own. So because of that, you as a buyer, there's a wide range of experiences that you're going to be open to. Unfortunately, a lot of times you make an inquiry and you might not hear back from somebody. It might just be a pilot that is listing it for an owner and, he's busy flying the plane. So you ask, to get more information and it takes a little while.
Sure.
So our goal with Jet Life Aero is to be kind of client focused. And part of our values, our core values is transparency and honesty. So when you're working with us, we want to know what's going to be best for you. So you say, Tom, I'm calling on this jet, 676 Delta Golf Citation 501. They'll tell me more about it. How much are you asking for it? And I'll get you the price, no problem. But I want to talk to you and figure out, Chris, like how far are we going? Yeah. How many people are you taking with you? How big of a cabin do you need? Are you going to fly it yourself? And then we're going to find out, is this the right jet for you? And then if it's not, we're going to help you find the right one.
So very much like a real estate, a realtor, a real estate agent.
What I like to specialize in is working with the first time buyers too. Because everybody buys a house at some point. Everybody's familiar with real estate, but how many people know anything about buying a private jet?
No, I mean, even if I was in the position, even if you owned a private jet, I feel like you'd still need somebody to kind of walk you through that process because, what do we know about planes, jets or anything like that? So, what year did you start your own?
In 2022, Jet Life Aero was started.
Okay. So in the last year, what has been your favorite part of the job?
My favorite part of the job is working for myself and taking control and taking responsibility of my future. So that involves making conscious decisions to spend more time with my family. So for example, the World Cup happened this past year. And I love soccer. And so I had an opportunity to watch a lot of those games with my kids.
Nice.
And I didn't have to ask anyone else's permission to spend time with them.
Yeah.
Now, I also, at the flip side, being a business owner myself now, I have to take responsibility for that and maybe put some extra hours in. You and I were talking about how difficult it is to be an entrepreneur, the non-sexy side. Yeah. And it's the truth. But now I'm in control to make those decisions for myself and not be subject to somebody else's, what somebody else thinks I should be doing to make the job happen.
That's right. Nothing better. So that's your favorite part of being an entrepreneur, right? And I imagine the first time, when this World Cup thing happened, you had the realization, hell, I don't have to ask anybody their permission. And I don't know if I remember my first, the first time that happened for me, but even think about it now, it just sounds awesome, coming to the realization or whatever. Going back to when you started, and some of the newer entrepreneur things. So I know that you had experience in the industry prior to starting it. What was the driving force? What was it that made you say, you know what? I'm done taking orders from somebody else. I'm going to do this on my own.
I think what was interesting was what I came to the realization was as I was working for somebody else, I was happy. I was content. I was finding success. I was on a winning team, and that was fine with me, right? But then at one point, I went back and I just kind of thought to myself, what would this look like if I was to do it my way? And even though I didn't have as much experience as the organization before, I just felt like there was maybe a better way. I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of blue oceans. Or the book Blue Oceans. So this idea of like, they were very well established and they had a model that worked, but I was always kind of like, well, what if we tried this? You know, what if I started my own YouTube channel to help with the marketing? What if I did more automation? What if I handled all of my something as little as like handling all my files in the cloud as opposed to hanging out on a server, a local server. And I think some people are just kind of built differently to want to do their own thing or put their stamp on what they're doing. And I just came down to the conclusion that I think now's the time to move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the big things I will also say is, for me, my personal reputation was important.
Sure.
And I wanted to be in control of that. And I realized that if I was working for somebody else or working for a larger company, my reputation would always be tied to that company.
Of course.
So that's not necessarily a bad thing. And that's not saying that the company that I was working with had a bad reputation. But I had just been, reading some books and watching some content. And that idea of my own personal reputation was just kind of ingrained in me that I wanted to explore more.
Yeah, I mean, even if they had a great reputation, it's still out of your control. Should that change at some point? So, wow, yeah, I've never heard somebody bring that up, but that's a really important part of it. We were talking earlier, and you mentioned like having this entrepreneurial spirit, like always. So, like, what are some of your first ventures that you dabbled in?
Oh, that's cool. So what's kind of interesting is that when I was in high school, my father passed away. And so I lost my dad when I was a freshman in high school. And I think part of the thing that helped me get through that was going to work, believe it or not. So my first job was working at a pizza shop as a phones guy behind the counter taking orders. I worked my way up to busboy, worked my way up to delivery boy, over the years. And then that same summer, I became a lifeguard as well. Okay. So early on, I just always had this independence and wanting to, have my own future. Be in control of my own future by making my own income. If I had some money, I had some options. And it's funny now, my son, he just turned 14. Can't believe he can start working in Florida already at 14.
Right. Yeah.
He's over at Southern Steer Butcher on Bee Ridge Road. So shout out Southern Steer Butcher.
Yeah, that's right.
So, and he's awesome. Like, he's really funny because he'll say to me, like, that is really funny. Like, once they buy something, I'll say, like, well, have you thought about this? I'm like, that's called an upsell, man. It's called a cross sell. Like,
that's right.
He's like, yeah, like, it's really easy to make that second sell. I'm like, good for you, man. Keep going with that.
14.
Yeah. And then the year before, he was also doing, he went to Sarasota Middle, and he would go to Walmart, buy a huge, thing of gum, and then go hawk it, in the hallways for like $1 a stick, So like, I'm like, my man,
this is great.
Yeah, let's go. So for me too, it was early on, just kind of that entrepreneurial spirit. And then it started with Cutco knives selling. And the first time I was like a business owner, if you will, is in college. I was actually a theology major,
Sure.
And what we would do is we would go out and do speaking and play music for local churches. Like, we would lead retreats.
Yeah.
And so we had to start a business, to do that. Yeah, we had to do our own marketing. We had to make the phone calls to the parishes. We had to do networking, word of mouth, and get paid.
Yeah, get paid.
So right out of college, we were doing that. And out of college, was a youth minister. Always had side jobs, videography, network marketing, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah. Okay. One last question, and you probably got this from Bob Williams. Shout out Bob Williams. What's one thing that people don't know about you?
Well, I told Bob I was a Marvel fan. Yeah. So I guess I can't use that one.
Nope, you gotta use something different.
Something people don't know about me. Oh, I had something actually. Oh, shoot. I did have something just yesterday or the day before. I was just thinking about, like, most people don't know this about me. What was it? It was something kind of really wacky, like, I'm going to have to remember it.
Oh, no.
It was something really, like, kind of, like, super random. One thing that I shared with my family recently that most people didn't know about me was when I was a lifeguard over in New Jersey, I did have to save a couple of people.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, I had to pull a kid out of the water who just was treading water and couldn't make it. And actually, the part I shared with my family was that I've actually had one or two people that I missed. And so I didn't save them, but somebody else saw them.
Oh, good.
So yeah, don't worry, we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
They're okay.
But not a lot of people know about my history as a lifeguard. I mean, it's like a little town pool kind of a thing, no big deal.
Yeah.
But not only was I able to help people and get them out of the water in time, but you also learn from your mistakes.
Sure.
So
yeah, for sure.
I guess that could be one thing.
Okay. Tom, how do people get in touch with you if they're ready to buy a private jet?
If you're ready to buy a private jet, check us out at jetlifeaero.com. That's JETAERO.com. But what I'm really excited about right now is that we've been expanding our brokerage.
Okay.
So maybe you can't afford a private jet, but you would like to help others who can, and you want to be a jet broker. We're actually the world's first cloud-based, agent-focused brokerage. So if you're here in Sarasota, great, I'd love to work with you, teach you how to sell jets, and off you go. But if you're not in Sarasota and you're still interested in how do I become a jet broker, as I mentioned, there's usually two ways. You join a brokerage, or you try to figure it out on your own. And we're kind of blending the two, because you can join the Jet Life brokerage, but we also allow you to brand yourself.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a EXP Realty model sort of a thing. So if you want to be, Chris Jets, off you go, man.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, you're a Jet Life affiliate,
Yeah.
but you can still blast yourself out there, to build your own brand. But we give you a framework, we give you the support, we give you the training to do, to actually do it. Yeah.
So if I were in New York or North Dakota or something like that, that's probably not a good jet place, but California.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So I'm really excited about that, because there's not getting into the aviation business for a long time has been kind of a closed off thing. People don't know anything about it. And even if they do, it's kind of like, well, how do I apply for a job? Because it's just not very common. It's almost like an old boys club, in some ways.
Who you know.
Yeah, who you know. Yeah. Exactly. So I wanted to open that up a little bit. Blue oceans kind of a thing. I wanted to disrupt the marketplace and give more people the opportunity that I had. Like, I had no experience. And private aviation changed my life, and it changed my family's life. And so I wanted to do that for more people. And so I thought to myself, can I do, I didn't think I could, honestly, when I first started out. But then I thought to myself, well, no, I have the skills. Yeah. I also like training people. I like working with other people. And so let's leverage the power of the internet. And there's a pathway here for people.
I love it. Well, Tom, thank you so much.
Thanks, dude, for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you know what? Time out. We didn't talk about this fly suit you got.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You got this fly suit on, man. You're the best dressed. No shade to anybody else. You're the best dressed guest that we've ever had.
Well, the only reason I'm the best dressed, there's two reasons that I'm the best dressed. Number one, this is my father's watch.
Oh, okay.
So this is my Submariner, my father's watch. This is where the branding for our Jet Life Aero comes from. It's the colors and stuff from my father. So that really means a lot to me. But probably most noticeably is this fly suit, which is a tweeds suit.
That's tweeds.
That's tweeds.
Okay.
So shout out. What's up, Don? So, I mean, if you're in Sarasota and you need a suit, you got to go to tweeds. And that's just, I actually won a tweed suit as a broker at one point. I was one of the top, won a contest there, so I got another. So I got two tweed suits.
Oh, okay.
And my next goal is, my next jet I sell, I want to get their jeans. They got them custom jeans now.
I didn't know that they had that. That's a pretty cool goal. Like, so like next jet you sell, you're going to get something.
Yeah, reward myself a little bit.
Reward yourself. I do the same thing. Yeah. I didn't know other people did.
Yeah, for sure.
That. When we bring on a new client, like a big client, I'll usually buy myself a pair of sneakers.
For sure.
But it's just the small things.
Yep.
You got to keep yourself motivated. So cool. Well, thank you so much for the time.
Yeah,
I really
man.
appreciate it.
This is just a little
Thank you.
So
You can open it to the camera.
Yeah.
Whoa! How did you know that I love Coca-Cola?
In a bottle, right?
In a bottle.
Yeah.
Oh
for
my
sure.
gosh!
And bubblegum, that's your favorite.
Look at that.
Yeah. And the book here is from our friend Joey Brandon. Shout out Joey Brandon. Grow with Purpose. I thought as an entrepreneur, you would.
Dude, that's awesome. Wow, thank you so much.
Yeah, man. Yeah, thanks for coming.
I appreciate that. Wow,
Sure.
Coke. Well done.